What happens when you achieve everything you thought would make you happy and still feel deeply unfulfilled? In this raw and emotionally honest conversation, I sit down with entrepreneur, mentor, and transformation coach Caryn Meininger to unpack the hidden emotional cost of success built through people pleasing, suppressing survival patterns, and extreme validation. Caryn shares the deeply personal story behind walking away from the helm of her family's 8-figure business, the shame and identity crisis that followed, and the inner work required to rediscover her voice, rebuild self trust, and create a life aligned with who she truly is. This is an epic conversation. And what I most appreciated about it was she challenges me, she flips the scripts, I get vulnerable. And it's just a raw, honest conversation around the trade offs of success, rebuilding yourself after heartbreak, hardship, and failure. Who is Caryn? Well, Caryn is an identity and energetics mentor, speaker, and founder of Live Iconic, a luxury personal development brand helping high achieving women and men step into the version of themselves who can hold more wealth, visibility, leadership, and freedom. After owning and operating an 8-figure family business for nearly 2 decades, well, Caryn walked away, reinvented her life and her brand around embodied success, emotional mastery, and energetic alignment. And it's my pleasure to introduce you to Caryn Meininger. Okay, Caryn, I want you to listen to what I'm going to share and then fill in the blank at the end of this sentence.
Okay.
You're at the helm of an 8-figure family business, having achieved $1 million in a single month. And on the outside, it looks like the company, it looks like you're thriving, you're checking all of the boxes, yet internally, you're feeling blank.
Unfulfilled.
Tell us more. Why?
Yeah. So essentially, I was in a business with a culture that I didn't really agree with. I'm in a business with my brother, and we have very different ways of how we do leadership.
Mm.
And my brother is a lot older than me. He was doing it longer than me, like in this world. And so
Yeah.
I noticed I was just complying a lot and not speaking my voice and sharing my own leadership skills in the way that I felt was fit for the company we were in. This was also a very masculine dominated, very logical. And for my female listeners out there, we are not logical beings. We are not logical. We do things that don't make sense, right? And it became this very challenging dialogue of within myself, actually.
Yeah.
Of what I actually wanted to be saying and doing and how I wanted to be showing up versus what I was trained, right? What I was conditioned to be doing. And so I was in this own argument with myself on what I should do, right? Don't should all over yourself, right? And what I could be doing and how I could be doing things differently, but holding myself back because that's what I was taught in childhood. I was taught you do as I say, right? Like this is how we do it. We don't talk about feelings. We sweep them under the rug. Get over it. Why are you making a big deal out of this? Move on and let's act like nothing ever happened. And this was just a pattern that was happening in my business. And I was like, I am not fulfilled. I'm in this. Essentially, it's a 9 to 5. We're in a product-based business. It's a 9 to 5. And every day after work, I would talk to my husband and be like, I hate this. I
Mm.
hate this. Like, we can travel anywhere we want in the world. We can buy whatever car, whatever Chanel bag I want, right? But those things didn't matter to me because on the inside, I was so miserable and so unfulfilled. And I was like, I I don't want to do this anymore. I
What
don't.
warning signs did you ignore?
Oh, ooh, what warning signs did I ignore? I was getting really sassy, like
Mm.
really testy. Is that a word? With my friendships, with my husband, with my son. Everything annoyed me,
Mm.
like everything. And I was the fun one. I used to be the fun one. And now all of a sudden I'm not the fun one anymore. And yeah, I didn't really realize it. I was annoyed. Just everything irritated
Mm.
me. Every single thing.
Were there common excuses or justifications that you created or told yourself to continue ignoring those warning signs, maybe hoping, wishing they'd eventually go away?
Yeah, so basically, my dad started the company that I was in with my brother, and my dad passed away right before
Mm.
COVID. And I felt like it was my responsibility to live his legacy. And that's what I kept doing. And I was like, I can't disappoint my dad. I need to live his legacy. I need to be the woman in the business that takes it next level. And that's what was happening. And then one day I was like, wait a minute. Am
Mm.
I living for my dad? Who's not even here anymore? Yes, he's
Yeah.
angel earth, but he wasn't earth
Yeah.
sign anymore. Or can I create my own legacy? And that was a really big shift for me. And one day
Yeah.
after work, my brother and I, we would have conversations. That was like our connection time, huge value for me.
Hmm.
He said, "Caryn, do you want to be having this conversation 10 years from now?" And I was like, "Oh my god, we've already been having this conversation for 5 years. Like, do I want to be telling him about my dreams and aspirations and how I want to make an impact in the world?" And it's not doing this. We sold outdoor fabric. It wasn't doing this. And that was this mic drop moment for me. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, you know what? No, I don't want to have this conversation. I don't want to have
Yeah.
this conversation anymore. And so I made a really bold move.
You did.
I made a really bold move. I mean, my staff, mind you, we live in Miami, right? They're like, "You have cojones," right? Like, I was like, "Yeah, I do,
Yeah.
because I wanna be happy." And
Yeah.
not all money is good money, and not all money makes you happy. And so, this was a huge realization for me in that moment.
Well, so it's interesting because I'm listening to you and I'm thinking a lot of, some of my reasons for achievement, success, and staying in situations, professionally and like relationally longer than I should have has been rooted in, one word that comes to mind is their trauma responses, this need to achieve, whether it's to please others or also it's just you lost sight that you're trying to work to achieve somebody else's goal that's not yours, to appease them, to please them, which is what you candidly shared. What would you say to that younger version of yourself when she first started hearing those warning signs that could have saved her years of agony and emotional hardship to help her come to these realizations sooner?
Yeah, so it's really interesting because I do a lot of work. This is a lot of the inner child work. And so,
Yeah, I love that.
yeah, let's chat more. We go all day on inner child work, because I can tell that's something that you work through and help your clients with too, which is
Mm.
amazing. It's
Yeah,
life-changing.
yeah.
So what was happening for me is my childhood is blocked out. Like, I don't remember it. I cannot remember. I remember very little glimpses of it because I believe, again, I don't know, that my childhood was a huge trauma response to my current reality,
Mm,
or what was my current reality at the
yeah.
time. And as I'm trying to nurture this younger self of me, I don't even know what she needed. I
Mm,
don't know what she needed because I don't remember any of it. Like, it is like my body, my mind was protecting me so much that I can't recall it. And so, what I would say to my younger self, doing the work that I know now, but at the time I didn't have that answer, was your voice matters.
mm,
Because what I do know is I wasn't allowed, if I voiced my opinion or voiced my thoughts, it was an immediate, it was immediately shut down. Immediately. And it wasn't safe for me to
yeah.
speak my mind. It wasn't safe for me to voice what I thought because if I did, I would get in trouble. Or one time this is really vulnerable, but I remember one thing I do remember is I pissed my parents off about something and they bought a lock and they locked the outside of the room so I couldn't get out. 'Cause that's
Mm,
not a fire hazard or anything. Um, that's my memory of my childhood, you know?
yeah.
It is being shut off, cut off, like, trapped, right? And that's when I realized I was being trapped in my own business.
Yeah. And like what I hear is, similar to trying to run away from that childhood, you were trying to achieve your way out of it, away from it. And maybe, I don't
Yes.
want to put words in your mouth, of course, but it's like if I can just have this next level of success or make this much more money, I can finally get away or feel all of those feelings I've been hoping, wishing, praying I could finally feel.
Yeah, and that, and something that I'm actually noticing right now is my friendships before starting this new venture and business and coaching and all of that is I noticed I was hanging out with people that were takers. They were takers.
Yeah.
And the reason I was in those rooms or around those people, sorry, was because it made me feel like I mattered. And it's
Mm,
so backwards. But it was like, hey, I'm in a position to pay for your trip or buy your dinner. And what I didn't realize at the time was in a way that was filling my cup because it was like, oh, I'm helping somebody who doesn't have as much money as I do experience this more luxury thing or this trip or
yeah.
whatever. Instead of looking at it like, oh, I'm actually trying to get a feeling by doing this.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was very eye opening, learning my patterns and having the awareness around my behaviors, right? And how I was
Yeah.
showing up and because people pleasing, I'm sure you are an expert in people pleasing, right? So people pleasing, if you don't mind me sharing,
Yeah.
it's we people please because we want people to like us.
Hmm.
But what happens when you give and you give and you give, and then you need something in return and they don't give it back?
Mm,
There's resentment. There's resentment. And then the people pleasers give because they're actually getting something from it. They're getting a feeling that they're
mhm.
important, that they matter when you are inherently worthy, no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, I have a PhD, or I used to have a PhD in people pleasing as the people pleaser. And I'll tell you what, for those of you listening, if you're resonating with what Caryn and I are discussing, there's a book called Not Nice by
I read
Dr.
it. It's
Aziz.
really
Oh,
long.
yeah, it is. It's a freaking Bible and a half.
What?
But it's so practical and insightful to the reasons you just explored, but in significantly more depth of why we are prone to people pleasing. It's a protective mechanism to get our core childhood needs met, to feel accepted, to belong, to be connected. And I really appreciate your vulnerability because I've seen it, as I know you have in your coaching practice. Next level success, like that first level that gets you to really stand out, more often than not, it's fueled by some form of a trauma response or a pattern that inevitably becomes destructive. And so many people, for example, hit 7, 8 figures and then they feel unfulfilled, stuck, a shell of themselves. And it's because the pattern that got them there will not get them to where they want to be. And that pattern starts running them the opposite direction or into the ground, but completely away from back to themselves.
Yeah. And most people do it, right?
Yeah.
Most people do it because we all we're all selfish. We are all super selfish, even the
Yeah.
people pleasers, right? Because it's even though we might not consciously realize it, we're all trying to get something.
Yeah.
Right? No matter what, whatever it's, I'm trying to belong. I'm trying to fit in. I'm going to say this thing so that I can fit in with the crowd. Or
Yeah.
I'm going to be silent because I don't agree with them, but I don't want them to not like me anymore. Right? We see it in so many different things in friend groups and politics and in in the medical industry, right? We all have our belief systems and
Hmm.
we confine or conform to other people's beliefs so that we
Yep.
feel like we belong or fit in
Yeah.
because it's really scary to be the outsider, to not be accepted when it's like, wait a minute. Go ahead. I feel like you
Yeah.
go. Let's
Well,
go.
I,
You want to
I
jump?
I just agree wholeheartedly. And like, I know for some of you listening right now, you might think this sounds so simple. And like, candidly, it is. Like, we are all the same. We want to belong. We want to feel accepted. And like, centuries and centuries ago, like, I jokingly say this like a broken record on my show. Like, centuries ago, if our ancestors were rejected, abandoned, or judged, and they got ostracized from their tribe, they literally died. So that need to belong was literally a survival mechanism for our species. And although we have completely different threats and challenges and dangers today, those same patterns and mechanisms of safety and belonging still exist.
Yeah. And it's like, what are you sacrificing? Like, where are you sacrificing your joy for
Yeah.
survival or passion for approval or purpose for belonging? Right? Like,
Yeah.
we're constantly sacrificing these things that light us up, that make us happy, that want us to keep moving forward and enjoying the process instead of trying to already be at the destination. It was so interesting. I don't know where I heard this. Oh, yes, I do. It was in the book Cybernetics.
Hmm.
Have you read that
Yeah.
book? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So he was talking about like manifestation a little bit and how, like, can I go a little woo on here? Are we good with woo?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Always.
Okay, so in manifestation, it's like be do have. It's like imagine you're climbing the mountain, or imagine like you want to get to the top of the mountain, or you want
Hmm.
$1 million or 10 million or a billion, whatever you want in your business. And it's like, okay, I'm gonna be this version of me who has a 7, 8, 9 figure business. Right? Okay, I'm being that version of me. And then I'm gonna start having conversations about what it's like in that realm, right? We're being
Hmm.
that version. But what he says in the book is so fascinating because a lot of times in manifestation, it's like remove the how, envision you already there, and then like tap into the feeling of what that is. Well, what he was talking about, he used the example of a mountain. So
Yeah.
he's like, a lot of times we'll envision ourselves at the top of the mountain. But he's like, no, don't envision yourself at the top of your mountain. Envision what it feels like on the journey to
Mm.
the top of the mountain. And this is the second time I'm reading the book, and I completely missed that the first time I read it, which is
Yeah.
why I always read books more than once.
Yeah.
Um, but I was like, it is so true. So, like anybody on a journey, in business and life and relationships, and what you want is like tap into the feeling of the journey of it. Like, what does it feel like going on that first date or making that first pitch to a
Mm.
$1 million sponsor, right? Versus already having the $1 million sponsor or the soulmate client or the soulmate or your soulmate,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
I found it extremely fascinating to start feeling into the journey of getting there,
Mm.
that feels like, versus
Yeah.
already being there.
It's such a subtle yet significant shift. Like I'm really happy you shared that. And I want to piggyback off that, but circle back for a moment because we've talked about people pleasing and, all the emotions that come with when we make decisions for ourselves. Maybe we're perceived selfish or maybe we feel like the threat of not belonging. Like on paper, walking away from an 8-figure company, like it sounds courageous. But I imagine underneath during that time, and these are my words, not yours, so please update, there was some form of guilt, fear, uncertainty, anxiety. So I'm curious, like, as you're becoming more and more aware of like, this is the new path I want to take, still much easier said than done. What were the emotions that you had to confront and work through that gave you the courage to take action and actually follow through?
Oh man, this could be like a 2-hour podcast right now. So the answer is the emotion was shame.
Mm.
Yes, but I'll elaborate. So when I exited the company, there was nobody prepares you for the after. And the drama and the contracts and the taxes and all of the things that I never exited a company before. I don't know what I was doing. It was really, really lonely. And I had a lot of
Mm.
like fake support, right? So it's like, yeah, I'm rooting for you, but I know you really want to be like, I told you so. I told you couldn't do
Mm.
it, because I'm super intuitive and I can
Yeah.
read between the lines really easily. And so leaving the company was really lonely. Like my
Yeah.
husband didn't like nobody understood it. Nobody got it. I think my husband still doesn't understand it, because it was on paper, I had it all. I had everything, like everything everyone dreams of. Right? Like I have the opposite story. Like people are rags to riches. I'm like riches to starting completely over. So
Yeah.
it's like a very different story. And I
Yeah.
had a lot of shame around it. And I went to an event. I went to a conference a couple weeks ago, and they had a lot of women on the stage talking about exiting companies, and I didn't really think it was a big deal. Because I downplayed it. I did not think it was a big
Mm.
deal. I held shame around it. I lost, my family over it.
Mm.
There was a lot of like, what are you doing? Your,
Yeah.
perception of this makes no sense. Remember, I said women do things that don't make sense,
Mm-hmm.
or I do at least. And so I was carrying a lot of shame, and so I wasn't sharing the story. I didn't share this
Mm.
story until this conference a couple weeks ago. I never talked
Oh
about
wow.
it. I never talked about how I was holding shame. And now I spoke up about it. I owned my story,
Yeah.
and my life has completely shifted in a completely different direction just by owning my story. Because I'm like, no one's going to resonate with this. Like, there's a statistic like less than 1% of women exit companies. Like,
Mm.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so it was really, really lonely. And I learned a lot in that first year after leaving my company on so much about myself and what I
Yeah.
had capacity for and how to expand capacity for good or bad, right? Or what
Yeah.
is perceived as good or bad.
Yeah.
And the way you expand capacity is by doing.
I'm so glad you said that. Like literally, my goal this year, my word this year is expansion, and I always come back to the simple sentence: to expand, you must expand. Like you got to do the work, do the hard things, stretch yourself, push yourself. So I love hearing you echo that.
And something I always say is contraction before expansion, right? Like
Yeah.
if you are in contraction, you're, oh my God, my life sucks. Like, why isn't anything going my way? It's this reminder of, wait, I'm in contraction. It's because I have to shed all the stuff and crap, right?
Hmm.
That no longer serves me. But if I don't feel it, like fully feel it, because what happens, the very feeling you're trying to avoid is the very
Mm,
feeling you're creating, right? So if I don't feel this contraction fully in all of its glory, then I don't have room to expand. Then I'm whole. It's like, right? I'll use this example because so before I got married, I was dating this guy and I wanted him to move in with me, right? I had this
mhm.
nice house. I wanted him to move in with me. And I was like, I'm gonna like get rid of a bunch of clothes in my closet so that there's room for his clothes in the closet. Right? It's such a simple analogy, but it's the same thing with like all of the things, right, that we don't need to hold on to so we can make
Yeah.
space for the expansion, for more, for that right and the overachievers get this, right? It's we're constantly performing and we need more and like, okay,
Yeah.
I achieved an 8-figure business. Okay, now we're going to go for 9 because
Yeah.
or multiple 8, or it's like we constantly feel like we need more because we're tying that with our worthiness.
Hmm. Well, so I'm curious if you go back to that year of transformation, I'm going to label it for you. Like, what version of you had to die for this new, current, confident, clear version to emerge?
Yeah, so I don't like admitting this, but I have put on so many different identities.
Hmm.
Um because it was an identity death, right? I was in this business for 20 years, family
Yeah.
run business. Like I had this thought that I can't make it if I don't have my family, right? That was the programming that I had to start disassembling and let go of. And so that was an identity death, right? Like my family not being a part of my world anymore. Like
Mm.
I'm literally by myself. Who am I? Who am I without my family?
Yeah.
I was
Mm.
like, I have no freaking clue. Like, I had no clue. And so I started dressing in all of these identities, right? Like Airbnb Karen, right? I own Airbnbs, right? Like I'm a business owner, I own Airbnbs. Oh, I'm a mompreneur coach. Oh, I'm a parenting, like I'm gonna help parents. I'm gonna help right? I was putting on all of these different identities or masks to kind of
Yep.
figure out what is my calling. Like here I am, like in the abyss. I'm in the middle of the ocean and no land in sight. Where do I
Yeah.
go? What do I do? And so you start swimming. And sometimes you're
Mm.
swimming in the wrong direction. And then you're like, oh crap, I went the wrong way. You can beat yourself up and be like,
Hmm.
crap, I went the wrong way. So I'm just going to stop and do nothing and sulk. Or you know what? I'm going to shift
Yeah.
1%, 1 degree. And then I'm going to start going in a whole different direction. And you know what? If that direction isn't working for you and you're realizing, wait, this isn't really who I am, guess what? You can shift another degree too.
Yeah.
But what I realized in all of these different identities, it's telling me who I'm not.
Yeah.
It's telling me who I'm not. And it's leading me, every move is a lead in the direction of who I am. And and
Mm.
And a question I like to ask, and I'll ask you this too. If you take away your business, if you take away your family, if you take away
Mm.
your house, who are you?
I'm a coach. I want to leave an impact. I want to
But if
provide
you have no
value.
clients, who are you?
Mm,
Who are you at your essence?
love.
Yeah. And when we get to tap into that,
Yeah. It's powerful.
you're inherently worthy with or without your business, with or without your family, with or without your relationships. And when we start
Yeah.
feeling inherently worthy, your life drastically shifts.
So take us one step deeper under the hood because I've had a couple chapters of life where I had to, shed an identity, reinvent myself, take a massive unexpected pivot, if you will. So if you look into those, we'll just cut it at 12 months because I know you're always growing and learning. But like for those first 12 months where you really had to do the unlearning, is there coaching and mentorship? Is there plant medicine? Is there time away? Is there daily routines? Like what do you attribute this significant, learning and unlearning? What were those key factors that allowed you to accelerate and time collapse this journey of up leveling, if you will?
Yeah, there's no like one thing, right?
Mm-mm.
Like there's so many different layers of it and the first thing I did when I left my company, what I took some time off, we moved,
Good.
right? I was just like, okay, we're not going to do anything. But the overachiever in me is like, what are you doing? Why are
Yeah,
you
you feel
stopping? Like, why are you taking a
guilty.
break? Like, you're wasting time. You're not being efficient, right? Overachievers, whether they want to admit it or not, efficiency is a huge value for them,
Hmm.
right? So it's like, how can we be most efficient with our time and get to the thing we want the
Yeah.
fastest? So slowing down felt really hard for me. That was really hard, but so necessary. And so I started doing that. And then I decided, or I made a conscious choice of, I'm going to be a student. I'm going to
Mm,
be a student. I'm going to hire mentors. I'm going to take different certifications. And like I did a couple of coaching certifications um, without needing a client, feeling worthy without having a client or any income coming in. Right. And granted, I sold my company. I wasn't, I'm like not at zero,
yeah.
So I know that's different for some people where
Yeah.
it's like, no, like I literally can't afford food today.
Yeah.
That was not the position I was in. Um, but we're talking to already successful people, right? Like if you want to go faster, slow down. That is like
Yeah.
my number one tip. And by being able to slow down, I still put on different identities, right? Still figuring it out. Like, who am I? Like, who am I
Yeah.
if I'm not a coach?
Hmm.
Right? Who am I if I don't own a business? Who am I if I'm not
Yeah.
a mom? Like,
Mm,
those were really hard questions. And it's not like, oh, I have the answer right now.
yeah.
And so as you're doing and exploring, you start to figure out what you like and what you don't like versus
Yeah.
being in the hamster wheel or on the hamster wheel of it
Mm,
all. And so for me, yeah, I did an ayahuasca journey. Um, I I did, I hired mentors. I joined
yeah.
communities. I paid to play.
Hmm.
I did. I do. I still do. Right? Because for me, like my whole movement is up your peer group.
Yeah.
Like be around people who can help you grow. I'm going to share. So yesterday,
Uh,
I was in the DMs with a 9-figure business owner. And I have an event coming up, right? And I'm like, "Hey, like come in this room like all my cheery happy self."
yeah.
And she's like, "Yeah, I don't need that. I don't need inner work. I scaled my business to 9 figures." And I was so triggered by this comment.
Mm,
And I was like, "Why am I triggered by this?" Because what I've been learning doing so much inner work is the inner work never stops. It doesn't
correct.
stop. You're always a work in progress. Like it doesn't matter. And I was so triggered by this. And I was like, okay, And what I realized is she's this 9-figure business owner. Online, and online, you don't really know people really who they are, right? Let's be real, it's all a facade.
Yeah.
And so I know by her looking at my social, again, like I said, I don't talk about exiting an 8-figure. I don't create this like authority content that much. Like I talk a lot about self trust and, a little bit of lifestyle, but that's what I talk about. And so
Yeah.
I'm talking to her, or she says this to me, and I was like, okay, I could be really triggered by this and be like, oh my God, she's a 9-figure business owner. That's so much money. Ah! Or I'm like, I'm going to meet you where you're at. Like, tell me more. Like, what are you
Hmm.
inspired by? What's going on in your life? Like, is there more growth you're looking for? Like, where are you at? And I think she was so caught off guard by this question. And so she shared, but very like hesitantly, very safely. Okay. Um, so she asked me some questions, I answer, and I
Yeah.
share the story. I exit an 8-figure company. All of a sudden, and I shared a little piece of vulnerability, like
Hmm.
just a little smidge, like a tiny, tiny bit. And that conversation completely pivoted
Yeah.
into I'm hosting a retreat. I want you there to hold space for my clients there. Um, I want to know more about you. It turned into a podcast opportunity.
Hmm.
So I'm sharing this because what happens is we pedestal people,
Yeah. Absolutely.
right? And it's learning how to not pedestal them. Because if you're pedestaling somebody, what I do is life's a mirror, good or bad. Like let's turn it around. Like, what
Hmm.
about them do you like? What qualities about them do you like that you can now look at in yourself within yourself?
Yeah.
Like, right, Mel Robbins. People love Mel Robbins, right? She's freaking
Hmm.
amazing. What about Mel Robbins do you love? She's raw, she's real, she's authentic. You know? Okay. Are you not those things?
Yeah. You can be too.
Right, right, exactly. So it's the same good or bad with judging, right? Like perceiving somebody. So I had to like look in the mirror. I'm like, okay, what do I like about this woman that's
Yeah.
intimidating the F out of me right now? And being like, okay, well, what are these qualities? And I was like, no, I'm just gonna
Yeah.
meet her there. I have these exact same qualities. And
Yeah.
in that moment, I realized like, oh, I can
Yeah.
hold 9-figure founders, because I didn't, yeah, for a second, I was like, oh my God, what's happening in my body? you know,
Yeah.
but it's like, okay, you're human too. We all are human beings. We are all one. And when
Hmm.
we stop pedestaling people, life happens more efficiently and faster than making us freeze in those moments.
I agree. And I want to go back to what you shared about, some of the catalysts during that first year we were talking about previously. I love that you shared you slowed down
Hmm.
and you ask for help. Because just as you mentioned, the overachiever in us, when we reach that point where we come to the fork in the road or we've pivoted a new direction, like I know personally, when I went through a divorce, it shattered my whole identity. And I wanted to go do all of the things. I went and did ayahuasca, I went and did this, that, but I didn't actually just sit with the feelings and realize the significant change I was in the midst of experiencing. And knowing what I know now, of course, like I wish I would have slowed down and just sat with the feelings, looked to learn and understand the patterns that led to that happening. And so I love hearing you share with everyone. You're in the midst of this huge unlearning process and you slowed down. You didn't rush into the next endeavor just to numb, cope, or avoid. You went inward, you asked for help, surrounded yourself with mentors so you could truly learn from the experience, which inevitably helped you speed up and get to where you are today. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's been a wild ride. So how did you handle your divorce? Because you were saying like what I'm hearing is it sounded like you were avoiding
Oh,
and
yeah.
wanting to put if I'm allowed to ask you a question. I know
Yeah,
like
of
okay,
course.
cool. But I'm like genuinely curious because I know a lot of people are struggling with this. And
Mhm.
a lot of times people are staying in marriages that they know they need to get out of.
Yeah.
And it's really hard, especially if there's kids involved, right? So, what was something that you were able to do um, throughout the divorce and
Mhm.
post divorce? Because that's an identity death too.
Oh,
It's like,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know how long you were married, but like you're with a partner for however many years, and then
Mhm.
it's who am I?
Yeah. So for me, like the similar to you and your journey, though completely different, is that like shame was the prominent emotion. I grew up, my dad's one of eight, raised Catholic. You don't get divorced, you
Right.
just tough it out. And like I had a very healthy, happy marriage role model to me. My parents to this day, I don't know, 30 something, almost 40 years later, still have that healthy, happy marriage. So for mine to not work out, not only did I feel like a failure, but I felt so much embarrassment and shame. And what I did was I isolated myself. I cut
Mm.
off relationships with those people. I jumped into another relationship to numb, cope, repress, avoid all of those things. And the mistake for me was the fear of not pausing, slowing down to look inward and learn. It was avoidance. I was constantly trying to find anything I could do to avoid that pain. And even like I mentioned, like I went and did 3 ayahuasca ceremonies. I think in hindsight, I rushed into those. They were powerful and productive. I think they could have been even more impactful had I started doing some work and slowing down to take learning lessons away myself beforehand.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what did you end up like what you said you jumped into another relationship
Hmm.
and and how did that work out?
Oh, but as you would expect, it didn't work out because I still had so much guilt and shame and embarrassment that, I might have been able to repress for a short period of time, but inevitably it all came to the surface.
Yeah, and so what did you do to
Yeah.
manage like, I'm genuinely curious too, like, what did
Yeah.
you do to once you realized you were avoiding the shame, the guilt, the avoidance,
Uh-huh.
what did you start doing differently?
Well, so candidly, it took me longer than I care to admit to come to some of those realizations. And what it ended up happening was finally finding the courage to ask for help, no longer believing I could figure it out all on my own. I had coaches, but they were more business oriented. So
Mhm.
I started working with like a relationship specific therapist, understanding all of the Gottman principles of love, relationships, how to build healthy, thriving, happy marriages. And that didn't suddenly, I'm not married today, but didn't like lead to me getting married. But I learned a tremendous amount about myself. And, after a couple trial and error experiences, I'm now in the best relationship I've ever been in. It took some of those pitfalls and mistakes, but it was asking for help and finally understanding I couldn't do it on my own that really served as the catalyst.
Yeah, and I think people underestimate the power of support.
Yeah.
And support because when I left my business, I had no support, right? It took me a while to hire support, and I wish I would have had
Mm,
that sooner. Um, I wish I would have had it sooner. And
yeah.
so I feel like excuse me. I feel like the coaching industry is so interesting because it used to be like if you had a therapist, like, you didn't talk about it, right? It was, like, so taboo,
Yeah.
like, "Oh my god, I have therapy." Now, like, people can talk about therapy, like, it's almost, like, required, like, you're in the cool kids club if you actually have a therapist, and I feel like
Yeah.
but the thing is, like, with coaching versus therapy, right, is, like, therapy gets you out of pain, and, like, coaching is future forward, right?
Hmm.
And so I feel like support can look so different um, for so many people. Like for me, support became my coaches and my friends, not my
Mm,
family. And so I feel like with support, it's like, listen, we're human. We're all going through stuff. Like, who are
yeah.
your board of advisories, right? Like, who are the
Yeah.
people that you can just turn to when stuff hits the fan, and you're like,
Hmm.
God, like I just need somebody to validate me, or maybe I need somebody to, give me feedback or give me understanding. But it's like the power of coaching, I think there's coaches everywhere, right? Like
Hmm.
they're everywhere. but there is a foundation of trust and coaches that can help you go deeper. And I feel like you're that coach, right? You're that
Hmm.
mentor that can really like pull like their own
Hmm.
wisdom out of them. And I think it's incredible. Like I think for everyone listening, it's everyone should have a coach. I'm gonna should it, but I,
Yeah.
everyone should have a coach. You know, I have
Hmm.
3 right now, you know,
Yeah.
and they just help you grow, and it's finding
Hmm.
the right one. What is the problem that you need help solving, but it's not even about the problem, it's what's underneath the problem. And I think when
Yeah.
you find people like Paul who can like go get to the root, then you get out of your own way.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. And I'll add too, I'm curious for your opinion on this. There are no shortage of coaches. We both know that. And I'm sharing this for everybody listening just to give you some filters if you are considering coaching or you've had some bad experiences. I think a nuance most people mistake or overlook is that there are coaches and then there are teachers. And you need both to level up and expand on your journey. But I've found, at least personally, I've made the mistake just being naive and I've hired a teacher and I've learned a lot, but I haven't actually gotten any further. The only thing that's expanded is maybe my knowledge in a certain domain of life. So I'm curious, have you run into that too? And if so, what has your experience been? And what would you share somebody listening who is seriously considering coaching but not quite sure where to start?
Okay. I have like a whole thing on this. Okay. So, yes. There I when you're hiring, I so there's teachers, there's
Hmm.
coaches, and there's mentors. Okay.
Hmm.
So to me, teachers, right, they teach you a new skill, they teach you something. Coaches are still teachers, but
Hmm.
they kind of like they ask you questions, you know, they're coaching you, they kind of have a plan. Like I still like feel it's still kind of teacherish. And then there's mentors. We're mentors, which I believe is more like you and I. Like I consider
Hmm.
myself a mentor more than a coach, is knowing the right questions to ask your mentor.
Yeah.
And coaching, I think if you don't know the right questions to ask, that's when you want to be more in like the teacher or like the coaches of maybe you're new in business, right? And you don't even know what question to ask to like get you to the next level. So you're going to be in a course or a group coaching program that's kind of
That, yes.
teaching. So that would be like what a first step would be. But if you're higher level, if you're scaling to 7, 8, 9 figures, like that's mentorship.
Hmm.
It's very different. You and what I've noticed in the higher like the higher tier founders is their questions are so simple. They're so simple. They're not these like overcomplicated, like, oh my God, like, da, 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 what do I do? Da, da, da. It's such a like, hey, I'm between this move, I'm between option A and option B. Like, can we work through this on what makes the most sense? It's like a simple question, right?
Hmm.
Versus, well, how do I start my business? And like, what do I do with funnels? And how do I do my sales calls? And like, da, 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 right? Like,
Yeah.
that to me is the difference. So if somebody's exploring coaching, I would say, do you know what questions you have that if you could ask a 9 figure business owner a question, you can ask like the Grant
Yeah.
Cardones and the Mark Cubans of the world, right? Like your question. Do you have that question?
Mm.
And if you don't, you like be in the teacher, like be with teachers right now so that you know more. Because the more you know, the less you know, right?
Hmm.
Ayahuasca teaches
Yeah.
us that. So it's, you'll start learning what you don't know. and then you'll know the questions to ask. And that's where I feel you and I come in. It's mentorship.
Yeah, and it's almost like the funnel is on the ascension ladder to next level success. Start with a teacher, then get a very niche specific coach with very intentional results and goals you're seeking. And as you can stack that multiple times over, but inevitably that person needs to ascend into becoming that mentor figure the higher up you climb on that success ladder.
Yeah.
It also
Yeah.
doesn't mean stop learning. Like, go binge a course on Claude, on AI, on whatever the new hack is on meta ads. Yet that's a little knowledge gap that can be quickly filled versus the big needle moving actions that need to threaten your current identity, challenge your ego, or rebuild your identity. That comes through the mentorship and coaching.
Yeah, and I'm in 3 masterminds and I have like one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of my masterminds is that it's this like identity, and she does one-on-one too, so it's great, right? Like, I have this big idea and like
Yeah.
hold me in the vision, and like, okay, I have this vision. Like, you need to find somebody that can hold you in whatever it is that you want, right? For
Mm-hmm.
me, it's I want this very specific curated space of high, like 10 people. That's it. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want more than 10 people in and it's not even container. It's literally like my secret society, right? Like, that's it. Like,
Yeah.
I want these 10 7 to 9 figure owners in this society where they can unmask and stop performing and be really real and put their egos aside, right? So there's that where they're going to know the right questions and know how to be held in that. So I advise, if you are wanting coaching or mentorship, like, what do you want to be held in?
Yeah. I really like that answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Really good.
and sometimes it's hard to find. There's a lot of crap. I've had some really crappy mentors or coaches,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, high ticket, invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into my personal growth, and not all of them are great. And
Yeah.
but it's a learning also. You learn what you don't like.
Yes, yes. And I think if you can see it that way, every experience then becomes valuable. Like I've said this story before, like, I paid $50,000 for a coach, a business coach when I was when I was pivoting hard from my previous business. Horrible coaching experience because in hindsight, he was a teacher. And you know what he taught me how to do? He taught me how to sell. He taught me how to raise my prices. So I'm technically forever indebted to him because he has revolutionized my life as a result. But at the time, I was like, dude, this coaching sucks. Took me a little while to realize, oh, got it.
Right, because 90% of it is the inner game.
Yeah.
And if you're not getting out of your own way where you can understand the higher price ticket and selling, right? Sales and pricing is very important in business.
Mm-hmm.
But like, if you don't feel worthy, if you don't feel your services are worthy, you're never going to be able to sell a 5 figure product or
Mm-hmm.
or a 6 figure product because
Yeah.
you don't feel you're worthy of it. And so that is why the inner game is more important than any strategy, any pricing, any sales call, because I like to look at I actually learned this from my really shitty coach. I hope I can curse, sorry. Um so something she said to me, and I this is the one thing I did agree with her on. When you go on a vacation and you had the best vacation of your life, you're going to sell that vacation to your friends, your family, whoever you're talking to. This hotel, the company service or customer
Yeah.
service, right? Like, you're selling it for them. They're not doing like, why? Because they gave you an experience, right?
Yeah.
You had an experience. So if you can't talk about your product like it's the best vacation you've ever been on, then let's look at that,
Got
right?
some work to do.
We got some work to do. Why don't we love our product enough to rave about it to the universe at the top of our lungs? Like, I'm going to Greece. I'm staying in some pretty sweet hotels. I'm sure I'm gonna be like, oh my God, guys, this hotel, look at where I'm at. Holy shit. You know, like, you should be able to do that about your business. And if you can't, then you're in your zone of excellence and not in your zone of genius.
That's such a great analogy. Like I have a trip coming up in about a month to Mexico, and the reason I'm going to this location, this resort, is one of my best friends was sending me all his pictures, and then I send it to my girlfriend, and she's like talking to her friends about it, and they're like, "Oh, look, I've been there too. You got to do this," and we're like, "Oh, they just sold us. Like I don't need to do any more research. Done, booked, easy."
So, if you have any coaches listening, right, or
Yeah,
mentors,
yeah.
you know, create experiences for people. Like, what are people saying about you when you're not in the room? That is your sale.
Mm,
I'm all about attractive. Like, I don't do the bro marketing thing. I'm all about, attraction marketing.
hmm.
So it's create experiences for people where they cannot forget it or forget you.
Let's shift gears for a moment because I know I'm going to run out of time here soon. But we've talked so much about your journey of, finding the courage, dealing with all of the feelings, shame in particular, to walk away from that chapter of life, that identity, to find yourself, reinvent yourself. As we fast forward to present day, what are one or two of those key habits, maybe those invisible routines you have that help you stay aligned and also help you stay as energetic and present as you are?
Yeah. So if I feel activated in my body, meaning
Mhm,
anxiety, faster
mhm.
heart rate, um, discomfort, right? Like, well, it's discomfort in my body.
Yeah.
I'm triggered, right? Like yesterday, I'm triggered by this girl. Um, where am I feeling it the most? Like, this is where you pause and be like, I am really activated in my heart right now. It's like beating really fast. And what happens is we tend to have an agenda to try to get rid of it. We try to not want to feel, we're like, oh my God, like, how do I get my heart rate down? Like, I need to breathe through it. Da, 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 da. It's surrendering into the actual feeling. So,
Mm,
okay, I'm feeling anxious. Where? Is it in my ears? Is it in my head? Is it in my gut? Well, I feel it all over my body. Okay, well, where is even more activating? Like, where do you feel it the most? Because when you pinpoint the
mhm,
one spot and you start to feel it without a story or trying to get rid of it or having that agenda, it'll move through faster. It only takes 90 seconds for an emotion to move through, but we loop it, right?
mhm.
We loop it. So we feel it, we think about why we're feeling it, and then it doesn't go away. So the tool that I use the most is surrendering into the activation in my body and just allowing it to be there. And sometimes I'll advise a color. I'll be like, okay, what color, what shape, instead of being in the story of it, just
Mhm.
the actual feeling of the sensation of it without trying to get rid of it.
Accepting it. Like,
Hmm.
I hear and understand because I'm wired the same way. And I admittedly acknowledge I can thrive in my masculine, but I can hold that feminine energy, if you will, really well also, which is why I have so many successful coaching relationships with women. But I want to ask you, because a lot of our listeners are men, like, a lot of men struggle to even identify what they're feeling. Like, I don't know if I'm anxious. I don't know if I'm stressed. They know when they're mad because society has deemed, anger is acceptable for men, or that's what they've had role modeled. But anxiety is what have been taught is weak. Nerves are weakness. Vulnerability is weakness. So for somebody listening who logically understands what you just shared, wishes it was that simple for them, how do they start?
It's a sensation. That's all it is.
Hmm.
It's a sensation, you don't have to call it anything. Like,
Hmm.
if I'm an alien and you're telling me, like, what's going on in your body and I don't
That's
know what
good.
frustration or overwhelm or anxiety or anger, if I don't
Yeah.
understand I don't know your language, you're just gonna tell me like, what is the sensation? Okay, my heart
Yep.
is beating faster. You're not calling that anxiety, you're not calling that overwhelm, you're just like, "My heart is racing faster."
Yeah.
Okay. My stomach feels like it's turning,
Mm.
and that's it. You're just identifying a sensation, and you don't have to put an emotion with it. In fact, I encourage you not to put an emotion with it. I
Oh, I
encourage you
like
to
that.
just notice the sensation and be with the sensation.
So good. Let me get you out of here on this. If someone listening today feels deeply stuck, even though they've achieved a lot already, what's the first honest conversation they probably need to have with themselves?
I mean, I literally want to be like, bitch, you're right on time. But listen, we're all stuck.
Hmm.
We are. We're all stuck, especially overachievers, right? Because they're always like, what is my next thing? And I feel stuck. And have you read The Gap and the Gain?
Yeah, one of
Yeah.
my favorites.
So, okay. So if you haven't read this book, it, there's the gap and there's the gain. If we're in the gap when we're not where we want to be and we're trying to get there. And so what happens when we're trying to get there, we feel stuck and not good enough because we're not there yet. And when we're in the gain, it's wait a minute, where were you last year
Yeah.
to where you are now? And how can we celebrate where we are now? Because if it gets you out of freeze.
Mm-hmm.
It gets you out of freeze because it's like, wait a minute. I am not the same person I was last year, and I'm not the same person I was 2 years ago. So we're all stuck, but we're not stuck, right? You're really not because you're constantly evolving. You just
Yeah.
feel like you're stuck because you're not where you want to be.
Really well said. So, for somebody listening today who just absolutely resonated with everything you shared, thoroughly connected to this conversation, where can they go to connect with you, learn more about working with you, and also tell them more about your live event coming up, which I believe is October, correct?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
October. So you can connect with me on Instagram. It's Caryn Meininger. I hang out there a lot. Um, DM me, voice note me, all the things. I will respond with all the support, love, or just because you want a connection. I am here for that. And do you need me to spell it? Because I spell my name funny, or it'll be in the show
I'll
notes.
put it in the show notes.
Okay, cool. And
Yeah.
then I have my website, KarynMeininger.com, but like it's a whole big mess. So go there if you want to see the work in progress. But yeah, and then my email is hello@KarynM.com.
Okay.
And my event is in October. It's called Live Iconic. It is for
Yeah.
female entrepreneurs, or if you feel really connected in your feminine, I recommend you coming as well.
Hmm.
It is more of transformational work, getting out of your own way. We're going to feel the things you don't want to feel and the things that you've been avoiding. And it's a great Gatsby theme. So it's really for people who are already successful and just ready to get out of their own way and make more impact. I do have some men coming actually.
Yeah.
Um, so you would have to dress more in like your tuxedos versus, the flapper outfit. But yep, that is October 19th through 22nd. The main stage is the 21st and 22nd. And it's also my birthday, so we're throwing a hell of a
Nice.
birthday party. And
Nice.
and then I'm starting my secret society, but I can't tell you on air. But if you're interested, you can DM me about that.
Phenomenal. What an incredible conversation. Thank you so much, Caryn.
Thank you. This has been such a pleasure. And Paul, you are such a gift. Thank you
Hmm.
for this opportunity. I really, really appreciate you.
Likewise. I hope you found as much value in that conversation as I did. And I encourage you, I plead to you, go back and listen again. There are so many nuggets, so many candid truths that you need to hear to speak up, to get unstuck, lock in, so you can live fully to your potential. And if you found this conversation valuable, go share it. Share it with the high performing friend you know and really know underneath it all is struggling. Share it on social media. Tag both myself and Caryn on Instagram. Her link is in the show notes at the Paul Salter for me. It goes a long way. Somebody in your inner circle needs to hear this conversation. So please share it. And my ask, as always, take 30 seconds, leave a rating and review for this episode in particular, for the podcast as a whole. If you continue to come back week after week, take those 30 seconds. A review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify goes a long way in supporting the show. And last, if you felt deeply moved by this conversation, if something within you, almost like it was speaking directly to you or it awoken something within, that's a sign. Ask for help. Reach out to Caryn. Reach out to myself, whatever feels most aligned, and take action to get the mentorship you need to get unstuck and out of your own way. Thank you again for listening. I greatly appreciate you. Have a phenomenal rest of the day, and I'll catch you in the next episode.